All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mike. And today we're going to be breaking down UFC Vegas 88. So there's no guest this week. It's just going to be me and my beautiful face. I am going to try to make this a quicker show. There's not a ton of stuff to talk about for certain fights. In other fights, there's a ton to talk about. So we'll try to space it out, try to keep it quick and brief. And yeah, we'll hop right into it. Let's catch up with the chat real quick. We got Daz over here. I don't know what this means. Always happy to see you, Dixon. Always happy to see you. My guy, Luca, thanks for tuning in. You're cool, brother. And yeah, let's get this started. So first up, we've got Chad Anheliger versus Charalampos Grigoriou. I did have the pleasure of interviewing Charalampos. So if you guys didn't see that one, check it out. He's a really cool dude. But Chad, he's going to be 12-7-0. He's 37 years old, 5'6" with a 64-inch reach, which is so tiny. 64 is crazy. Charalampos, 8-3-0, 31 years old. He's going to be 6 years younger, 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 3.5-inch reach advantage. He is training out of Saralongo, so that's a great camp for him, especially in this matchup because he should probably grapple here. I'm going to go ahead and I'm picking Charalampos to win. I'm not going to be backing him, I don't think, at this chalky price, just because I need to see more of him at a higher level. I don't necessarily think Chad is that much of a higher level. He's probably around the same level as the regional scene guys, maybe a little bit better, but I've never really thought that highly of him. I think Chad's ground game is pretty weak. I think his takedown defense is pretty weak. His get-ups are fine. He's had really close fights with guys who just aren't good at all. I mean, the fight with, what was his name? Jesse Schrader, where he got taken down like 4 times. He was not winning that fight until he got that knockout, which is not a great look. He's very hittable. His own striking is fine, but he can't really strike at range because his reach is so small. So he's got to be over there in the pocket. He's got to be up close. And Charalampos, he's also good in the pocket. I think he's got a bit more power than Chad. I think he's got more like tools. He goes to the body really well. And out of the two of them, who do I trust to actually be able to grapple if they need it? I think it's Charalampos. I think he's more likely to have wrestling success. I think he's more likely to cause damage on the feet. I think he hits harder than Chad. And, he's not the most technical guy. He's kind of winging his strikes a lot as Charalampos. And Chad, if he gets in close, if he can avoid those shots, maybe he can box him up close. But I just don't think he's that good. So for me, it's Charalampos. I can see him knocking out Chad. I can see him out grappling him. It's not like Charalampos is like this prolific wrestler who comes out and gets takedowns and takedowns and takedowns. He's not, but he can do it. He's shown it before. It's okay. And he is training at a good camp for grapplers. I mean, Saralongo is one of the best out there. Great gym and great training partner. So I'm going to pick Charalampos. He is also 6 years younger. He's got all the measurable advantages. I do think he's going to win this fight, but I wouldn't suggest betting either side. Maybe if the line really comes down, I'd have some interest, but I'm not playing the dog. It's favorite or pass for me, so I'm going to pass, and we can move on. Let me catch up with the chat real quick. We've got Victor in the chat. What's up, Victor? Thank you for tuning in. I'm glad you can catch the show live as well. Does this mean we're going to be biased? Hey, maybe a little bit, but I mean, if you've watched my shows, I don't think I've ever picked Chad. So I wouldn't call it bias. I just don't really think that Chad is that great. Like, no disrespect. Every fighter is the man or the woman. They're beasts just for stepping into that octagon. But at the end of the day, I'm supposed to be looking into them and their skill levels, and I just don't think Chad is that great. Charalampos isn't some, top-notch guy. I don't know if he's going to challenge for a title anytime soon, but I do think he's better than Chad. I do think he has the tools to beat Chad, so that's going to be the pick. Luca, I'm from Georgia, like Marab and Ilya. Your predictions are great, just super. Cool. My fiance is also Georgian, so there's definitely a Georgian bias in the house. Males, Canadian MMAs in shambles. The regional scene there is a little bit rough, but to give Chad credit, he does have some UFC experience, multiple fights now, so he will have the experience edge. He won't have those jitters, so I will give that to him, but we can move on. Next up, we've got Cory McKenna versus Jaqueline Amorim. McKenna 8-2-0. She's 24 years old, 5'3" with a 58-inch reach. On the other side, Amorim, she's 7-1-0. She's going to be 28 years old. She's 4 years older, same height, and she does have a 10-inch reach advantage. But here's the thing. It's not like she uses it, She's not some fighter who comes out there, maintains range, uses that really long reach, pokes out the jab, uses the 1-2s. She doesn't do that at all. Her striking is fairly limited. She's got a little bit pop to her punch, but she's really not much of a striker. Her grappling, in terms of jiu-jitsu, it's elite. Very elite. I mean, her jiu-jitsu is really, really good. She can use it offensively. She can use it defensively. We saw in the Montserrat Ruiz fight, she was taken down a few times, and she used her jiu-jitsu to reverse, whether it was a sweep or threatening the Kimura. She's got all those, and she's really, really slick on the ground. However, getting it to the ground is another thing, and I don't think her wrestling is that good. She doesn't set up the takedowns well because she doesn't have the striking to set them up well. And she's kind of just shooting from a distance, just not a great look. And then don't even get me started on the pulling guard thing. I hate fighters who pull guard. I don't think it's ever a good idea. Sure, sometimes it works out. The other fighter will follow you down there and you can pull something crazy. But for the most part, A, it leads to you being on bottom, losing minutes. And B, it's a terrible optic for the judges. I mean, all they see is you laying on the ground or falling back onto your back over and over again. Cory McKenna, is she the biggest, threat out there? No, I don't think so. Her striking is definitely going to be better. Her reach is tiny, but again, it would be a completely different story if Amorim was maintaining range and using her reach, but she's not. So I do think McKenna will be able to get up close. I do think she'll be able to strike with her, and I do think she'll be the better striker. I just don't know how much we're really going to be on the feet because both women prefer to go to the ground. Cory is probably a little bit of a better offensive wrestler, and she does have good jiu-jitsu. Maybe she can defend anything that Amorim throws up from the ground. But it's a scary thing for me. I know a lot of people are on McKenna, and I completely understand the read, right? I just said it myself. Better striker. Offensive wrestling is solid, and Amorim falls to her back and accepts bottom. And she's got good jiu-jitsu to be able to defend. However, do I think it's good enough? Am I sure that it's good enough to defend against the jiu-jitsu of Amorim? I'm not positive. I'm not, because Amorim is really good, and I could see her threatening subs, and I could see her reversing position. And we have seen McKenna controlled, right? We have to go all the way back to the Kay Hansen fight to really see it, but she did get controlled there a lot. She did get taken down. Granted, that was 4 years ago so she was like 20 years old, so we could expect improvements. We know young fighters improve at a rapid pace. So I do think that she's gotten better. I do think she's probably a little bit harder to hold down now. But if Amorim does get on top, I can see her maintaining position. I don't think McKenna will be able to get out from underneath. So if you're backing McKenna, you really, really don't want to see Amorim on top. Because if she is, she's either going to be able to get a sub or she's probably going to be able to ride out the round and win that round. So I'm going to pick McKenna, but I can't get there. I understand why so many people are on her. But again, if you're on her, right, you're either hoping that she only strikes, which she's probably not going to do. And if she is, Amorim's going to be trying to initiate that grappling. They're going to get to the ground one way or the other. And then again, we said, yeah, her jiu-jitsu is probably good enough to defend certain subs or some subs. But if she's laying on Amorim for 15 minutes, that's 15 minutes where she has to avoid the jiu-jitsu of someone who's really, really good on the ground. So I can't do it. I'm going to pick McKenna for the purposes of the show. In terms of betting, I'm not really interested. Maybe if the line blows out more, I could get to Amorim or maybe like a submission prop. But the pricing so far isn't great. Plus 200, I'm going to need a bit more than that to back Amorim. So I'll pick McKenna. Super low confidence, and I don't want to bet it personally. And we can move on. Next up, we've got a banger. We got Josh Culibao versus Danny Silva. Culibao 11-3-1. He's 29 years old. 5'10" with a 73-inch reach. On the other side, Silva 8-1-0. 27. He's 2 years younger. He's going to be 1 inch taller with a 70-inch reach, so he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So for me, this one was tough, right? On one side, I'm really, really tempted on Silva because he's plus 160. He's going to have a significant output advantage here. Culibao does not throw a lot, and Silva throws a ton. And he goes to the body, he goes to the head, he mixes in elbows, he's violent, he's got power. So in terms of just the output, I think Silva's got a big advantage. And in the pocket, I think Silva's got a big advantage. But where I kind of have the issue is Silva going to be able to find Culibao? Is he going to be able to have that same output if he can't back him up against the cage, if he can't get to the pocket? Because if you like watching the Pacheco fight, awesome fight, by the way, and if you haven't seen it, please do. Also, guys, my Wi-Fi is showing 1 bar for some reason. So if there's an issue, just let me know in the comments. That would help. But when you watch the Silva Pacheco fight, both guys, their feet are just planted. They went to war, feet planted, no care in the world. You didn't really see a lot of movement from either guy. And something that I saw from Silva that concerned me is he'll land his shots, he'll go for his combos, he'll land like 4 or 5 punches, and then once it comes back his way, he kind of just shells up and he just lets it happen. And that's something I don't like about my boy Peter Yan, who just pulled off a victory. Let's go. But Silva does it too. Once he sees something coming his way, he shells up and he just doesn't move until that flurry is done. And I don't love that. So because of Culibao's movement, I'm concerned that Silva won't be able to get the fight that he wants. And it's not like he has really anything else to fall back on. His wrestling is fine. Do I think he's going to come out here and out grapple Culibao? No, I really don't. And I'm not really tempted to play Culibao either at chalk because A, the output is horrible, and B, I do really like Silva striking, but I could see Culibao maintaining range, using his jab, using his 1-2s, and just winning maybe not a clean fight. It's hard to say that a Danny Silva fight will be clean, but I could see him winning a decision pretty cleanly. So I'm very, very torn here. I think the entire fight turns on, can Silva get his game going if his opponent's not just feet planted right in front of him? And Culibao won't. Culibao has good movement. He's hard to back up against the cage. What I was watching for when I was watching the tape was I wanted to see what happens when Culibao's back hits the fence. Does he stay there like Pacheco did? Or does he move off and move away from the cage? And he moves away from the cage. So it's going to be hard for Silva to get there and just let it rip. I think Pacheco was the perfect opponent for him to show off that output, to show off that striking, because Pacheco wasn't trying to move. He wasn't trying to evade. He was more than happy to sit down and engage in this war with Silva. And I just don't think Culibao is going to do that. So I'm going to pick Culibao really, really hesitantly. I've never picked him before. I usually bet against him, and I can really, really see the upside of Silva. But whether I get to a bet there, I don't know yet. I'm not ready to say. I think there's a possibility I get there because plus 160 is a pretty decent line. I do think that's a little bit wide. But if I bet on Silva and he's not able to find Culibao the whole fight, I'm going to be pretty damn frustrated. So I'll pick Culibao for now, but that could 100% change later in the week. All my bets can be found at the Beer Money Picks Discord. The links are in my YouTube link tree. The link tree is up on my Twitter at Couch Warrior Pod. That's where my official bets go. So if I do end up betting Silva, that's where it's going to be. And I do my YouTube shorts. Those will be released tomorrow. So if the pick changes by tomorrow, you'll see it on the short. I'm picking Culibao with super low confidence. For me, just really comes down to, can Silva find him, but also stop the movement, cut the cage. And I didn't really see much of a cage cutting ability from Silva. So we can move on. Let me catch up real quick. What do we got here? A.R. Smith, can't trust either of them. I think he was talking about the women's fight. That is fair. That's a tough fight. Luca, Brazilians have great magical power, but I think she'll lose. Yeah, I don't think Amorim's power is really going to play into much. Sean, my brother, thank you for tuning in. And Pacheco is a punching bag. Yeah, Pacheco really didn't try to evade any strikes. That's why I think Silva had so much success, and I don't know if he's going to have that same success against someone who moves a lot like Culibao and who maintains the range, who uses that jab. I think that jab is going to be really, really useful for him. If Silva can get the leg kicks going, that might be an opportunity. That might be an angle for him, but I don't know. So I'm going to stick with Culibao for now, and we'll see. But I do think the value in terms of if you're going to make me bet this, if you tell me, Mike, you have to make a bet, it would be on Silva. We can move on now. Next up, we've got Thiago Moises versus Mitch Ramirez. Moises, he's 17-7-0, 28 years old, 5'9" with a 70.5-inch reach. Ramirez on the other side, 31 years old. He's 5'11", so he's got a 2-inch height advantage and about a 1-inch reach advantage. So for me, I mean, look, is there really that much to talk about? Ramirez coming in on short notice. He's fine. He's a decent fighter. He can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got a lot of power on the feet, but that's really it. He's not super technical. Doesn't have amazing control on the ground. Doesn't have much of a jiu-jitsu game. And Moises, I understand he hasn't had the best run right now, but the guys he's fighting are all really, really solid. We got Benoit Saint-Denis, who I'm sure a bunch of people are calling a bum now that he lost to Poirier, but that does not make him a bum. He is not a bum. Melk Costa, I think Costa's really good, and Moises just dispatched him real quick. Giagos, fine. Yoel Alvarez, good fighter. Islam Makhachev, obviously the champion. And I just don't think that Mitch is on the level of any of those guys, not even like Giagos. So for me, Moises, I think he submits him relatively early. I think that he's the rightful favorite. On the feet, is he that much of a better striker? Maybe not. And Ramirez probably has more power than him. But Moises is a good boxer, and I think he can more than hang on the feet. I definitely think he can get his takedowns, and I can definitely see him getting a submission here. If he loses this, it would be very surprising to me. Very surprising. I think for him to lose, he has to get knocked out, and it can happen. I just don't really think it's going to happen in this particular fight. So we can move on and not waste our time. Let me see what's up with the chat real quick. We got my guy Lou. Bring back Lou. Free Lou. Ridiculous that he's still banned. I'm in the life stage now where I need an evil mustache for a few weeks. I look abysmal with a mustache. I've tried it before, and it just doesn't go with this face. Moises sub. Yeah, I don't know what the odds are for it because it's not out yet, but they're not going to make it playable, I don't think. So that's the issue there. What's up, Glenbot? Thanks for tuning in, brother. Really appreciate you as always. And Luca saying Moises will win easy. I agree. Unless he gets knocked out, I think he wins this at a really, really high clip. Moving on, though, we got Ode Osbourne versus Jafel Filho. Osbourne, 12-6-0. He's 32 years old, 5'7" with a 73-inch reach. Filho, 16-3-0. He's 30. He's 2 years younger, same height, but he's going to be at a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So for me, this was a tough one. And going into it, I was thinking maybe there's some value on Ode Osbourne. And I kind of do think there's value on Ode Osbourne. So Filho, he's solid. I don't think his striking is that good. Kind of really wings his punches. He has a lot of power, clearly. He had a really nice knockout in that Echeverria, I believe is the guy's name. He had a really nice knockout in that fight. Caught him clean with a hook. And I could see him catching Ode. It wouldn't be the first time it's happened to Ode. And I could see him landing that shot. But in terms of just technical striking, I don't think his striking is as good as Ode's. I think Ode is much better at maintaining range, and he is going to have a significant reach advantage here. He keeps his strikes nice and straight down the pipe, which I think is going to land a lot more than Filho's hooks because it's just faster, right? If a fighter throws a hook and the other fighter throws down the pipe at the same time, what's going to land first? The straight punch. And that's what Ode is going to be throwing. So on the feet, I think he's cleaner, and I think he's going to have the edge, maybe not the power edge, but I do think he's going to have the technical edge, and I do think he's going to be able to maintain that range and keep Filho a little bit away from him. Now, the big question mark here is, can he defend the grappling, right? Because he's got three submission losses. He does give up takedowns relatively easily. He does give up his back when he's getting back up. So it does make sense with a guy like Filho who has really good jiu-jitsu that, he might be able to submit Ode. The thing is, Filho's wrestling isn't that great, in my opinion. He doesn't really set it up well because, again, his striking isn't that great. And he'll kind of just shoot in from like a distance. And it's just, I really do think that Ode is going to have a decent amount of success defending those takedowns. And if he can, I think he's going to win a 15-minute decision. If he can keep this on the feet, avoid the big strike from Filho, I think Ode has what it takes to pull off the upset here. I do. Now, am I going to get to a bet? I'm not sure about that because at the end of the day, Filho has all the finishing upside here. I can see him knock out Ode if he can catch him clean with a hook, and I can definitely see him submitting Ode if he gets him down to the ground. I had Filho in the Daniel Barres fight, and that was a sweat, man. That was a major sweat because he was just getting pieced up on the feet. I don't know if Ode's got the same power as Barres, but technique-wise, I think he's just as good as Barres in the striking. I think he's a great striker. And also, I did want to mention this. Filho doesn't handle leg kicks very well. He doesn't check them. He kind of just lets it happen to him. And Ode has shown more leg kicks recently, especially in the Charles Johnson fight. He was using those leg kicks a lot. And I do think he's going to use them here. I think he should use them here. Make it harder for Filho to be explosive when he shoots in. And if he can just keep it on the feet, I really do think it's Ode's fight to lose. So in terms of a pick, I have to pick Filho because, again, all the finishing upside, huge grappling edge, and Ode has a big hole in the grappling. But in terms of, like, I don't want to bet Filho at chalk, because what happens if he can't get the takedowns? I think he gets pieced up. So right now I'm staying away. The pick will be Filho, but I don't want to put my money on him, and we can move on to the next fight. This fight's going to be hilarious. We've got Josiane Nunes versus Chelsea Chandler. Nunes 10-1-0. She's 30 years old, 5'2" at bantamweight, 5'2" with a 67-inch reach. Chandler 5'2-0. She's 33 years old, 5'8". She's 6 inches taller, and she's got a 68-inch reach, so she's going to have a 1-inch reach advantage. I hate this fight. I hate this fight. I don't think either woman is really high level, and both have really big holes in their games. For Nunes, the grappling, I mean, her grappling does not look great. We really only saw it get tested in the Ramona Pascual fight, but Pascual is no longer with the UFC. I never thought she was that great of a fighter. She's not much of a wrestler. She can get takedowns, but she doesn't set them up well. And she was still taking down Nunes. She was still controlling Nunes. And Chandler is gigantic. Chandler is not necessarily like some super clean wrestler. She's not like hitting really nice timing, hitting these takedowns. But I do think that she can just muscle Nunes down, because she is going to be much, much bigger. I think she's going to be much more physical. And if she gets Nunes to the ground, I think she can do damage. I think she can hurt her with ground and pound. And I don't think Nunes will be able to get back up. On the other side, though, and the reason why I'm hesitant to bet Chandler as the underdog is that Chandler doesn't seem like she can take a punch very well. And it's not just the Norma Dumont fight. It's a lot of fights in the regionals too, where when she gets hurt, she does not handle it well. And I mean, in the Dumont fight, we saw her quite literally turn around and run away. So Nunes, while I don't think she's the most technical at all, I don't really rate her technique at all. I think she's a pretty crappy striker in terms of just technique. She's got a ton of power, and she does plod forward, plod forward, plod forward. And I can see her putting up Chandler against the fence, letting it rip, kind of like she did against Zara Farron, a ticket that still hurts me. I had Zara there, had her at like plus 350. Everyone gave me crap. Everyone said you're an idiot, throwing money away, burning money, just donate it. Didn't look like I made a bad read, did it? Zara looked pretty solid in that fight. But the difference between Zara and Chandler is that Zara, while she's not great, she's huge and she has that reach, and she can strike straight down the pipe. Chandler can't do that. Chandler is not a good striker. I really don't rate her striking at all, and she's super hittable. So if she's not getting the takedowns, I think Nunes might knock her out. If she is getting the takedowns, I think she can dominate this fight as long as she keeps getting them in every round. Does she finish Nunes? I don't necessarily think so. It's possible. I can see ground and pound getting her the finish, but it's shaky. I can see her winning either way. I'm going to pick Chandler. I'm picking the underdog. And normally that would mean that I'm going to bet them. But this is one where I have to really think about it, because I just don't like the way she takes shots. I really don't like it. I don't think it's a great look. And Nunes, while I don't have too many good things to say about her, I do think she has a lot of power. So Chandler will be the pick, staying away for now, and we can move on to the next one. Catching up with the chat real quick. Let's see what we got. Fight Club in the chat. What's up, Fight Club? Thanks for tuning in. Ode has no gas tank, so he'll eventually get taken down. That's fair, I guess. I don't know about no gas tank. He definitely slows down a little bit, but Filho doesn't have the most amazing gas tank either. So I don't know. Really like the under 2.5 in the Nunes Chandler fight. I think that's a solid look. I don't know if I'm going to get there personally, because I can see Chandler just laying on her, but it is a solid look. Let me check what the line is first before I say it's good or bad. All right, you're paying up minus 110 for it. I don't know. It makes a lot of sense, and I can think of at least two ways the fight ends, right? Chandler ground and pound, or Nunes standing knockout, TKO, whatever you want to call it. So I can see it, but I would have liked plus money if I was going to go ahead and bet that in a woman's fight. It isn't a woman's fight at the end of the day, but I don't think that's the worst look. Lou saying this is a true main event. I agree. Not Mike Davis, Natan Levy. We're talking about Josiane Nunes and Chelsea Chandler. What do y'all think about this being at 135, not 145? Yeah, that's another thing to talk about that I actually missed. So thank you, Glenbot, for bringing that up. Chandler is coming down to 135, and she is a very, very large person. She's very big, very physical. So that's one of those fights where you probably better off waiting until weigh-ins and seeing how she looks. And I don't necessarily think that the line will change too much. You'll probably still get plus money by weigh-ins. So I think you're safe to wait and check it and see how she looks. Because if she looks like death, I wouldn't back her, because she will probably slow down and then get caught by Nunes at some point. If she looks great, I might have to hop in and take a shot, because if she can keep up the wrestling, if she can get those takedowns, I think she's got a really good path of victory there. Nunes has a haircut you can set your watch to. Okay. And Nuna Vides, yes, Uncle Weezy and Brady and their theory that Nunes is just Benavidez hiding and restarting his career, but I don't know about all that. I guess I could see the resemblance. Moving on, though, we got Mike Davis versus Natan Levy. Davis, 10-2-0, 31 years old. He's 6 feet tall with a 72-inch reach. Levy, 8-1-0. He's 32, so he's 1 year older, going to be 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have about the same reach. So for me, look, I think this is Davis all day long. I like Levy. I've backed him before, but I just don't think he has the tools he needs to win this fight. The only way I really see him losing is if there's something really wrong with Davis, because he has been plagued with injuries. He's had a ton of injuries, and that's why he's relatively inactive in the UFC. He's not fighting multiple times a year. But unless it's like a really severe injury that just shows up in the fight, I don't think he's going to – I really don't think he's going to lose. Levy, he's a good grappler. That's his base. He's a good wrestler. He's got good jiu-jitsu. But Mike Davis is also a good wrestler. He has good takedown defense. He's got good jiu-jitsu of his own. So I don't really see Natan coming out here and out grappling him for 15 minutes. I think it's highly unlikely. And in the striking, it's Davis all day long. Natan's not that great of a striker. He really uses that kick. He likes that kick a lot, kick to the body, which is fine, but I don't think that's enough to get the job done against Davis. Davis has tremendous output, and he's just much, much cleaner, more pop to his punch. He's fought the better opposition. And like what you watch the Natan Levy Mike Breeden fight, right? Breeden had a lot of success on the feet, and Breeden is fine, but I think Davis is a way better striker than Breeden. So what is Davis going to do to him on the feet? Now, Natan might have improved a little bit, but I don't think it'll be enough. And I do think that Mike Davis wins this relatively comfortably. And we can move on. A.R. Smith saying Davis is his lock of the card. I never use the L word unless I want to jinx something on purpose. So, but I am very confident in Davis. Very, very confident. Everyone is way too confident on Mike Davis. It scares me. Yeah, it is scary sometimes when literally everyone agrees. We'll have another fight like that coming up later in the card. But at the end of the day, I have to focus not on what everyone else is doing, but on what I'm seeing. And I don't see a real path of victory for Levy unless he just catches Mike. And anything can happen in MMA, but I think Davis should be okay. I think we will see the over 2.5 in Davis versus Levy. I think so too. I think that Levy, while he's very hittable, I do think he's relatively durable as well. Let's check what the over is, though. But it's chalked. It's minus 200. And I wouldn't be shocked if Davis was able to TKO him just attritionally, because the guy has a tremendous output on the feet. And Levy's not good at defending strikes. So I personally, I like the over in terms of if I had to pick under or over, but I wouldn't bet it at chalk. Davis, Levy, over 1.5, 9 out of 10 times their last 5 fights. Well, over 1.5 is minus 325 on Bovada. I don't know about all that. If you wanted to parlay it, I guess maybe you can do that, but I just personally wouldn't. Totals are scary at chalk because anything can happen in this game. But we can move right along to our next fight. Next up, we've got Gerald Meerschaert versus Bryan Barberena. Meerschaert, 35-17-0. He's 36 years old, 6'1" with a 77-inch reach. Barberena, 18-11-0. He's 34. He's going to be 1 inch shorter, and he's going to have a 5-inch reach disadvantage. So I'll be open with this one. This is one of the fights I need to go back to. I didn't get a lot of time to tape this one. I focused on some of the other bouts that I had more interest in, and I just need to get a better look, especially because of what I'm considering. So I kind of think that Barberena is a live dog here. I understand that he's been submitted a bunch. I understand he's got a deficiency on the ground. But at the end of the day, like, is Meerschaert really coming out here and shooting a million takedowns? Not really. Not really. He's more of an opportunistic grappler. He'll take it when it comes. If you make the mistake to grapple with him like Dustin Soltzfus did, he'll submit you. If he can gas you out and kind of just push you up against the cage, he can get you down and submit you. Gerald Meerschaert has hit a bunch of round 3 sub tickets for all of us that have backed him there. I've cashed a bunch on Meerschaert. He's a great underdog. Had a close fight with Andre Petrosky. He's not a bad striker either. He's pretty decent at range. He's really not bad. You don't see him coming out here and just winging crazy strikes. It is clean. It's 1-2s down the pipe, solid, but he's very hittable. You can take him down. I would not do it if I was Bryan Barberena, though, because that will lead to a submission more than likely. But Bryan Barberena, well, first, I do want to talk about him coming up to middleweight. He did it in his last fight against Muradov. I believe that was the first time. Yeah, it was. But I don't know why he did it. I guess he doesn't want to cut weight anymore, but he wasn't really a giant welterweight at all. And he's not like a Michel Pereira, right? Who probably should have never been 170. And it's a miracle that he even made it there. I think Barberena was fine at 170. At 185, I don't know how I feel about it. Will Meerschaert really have that kind of physicality edge over him? He might, but I don't think he's going to have an easy time taking Barberena down. And on the feet, I like Barberena more. I like him quite a bit more than Meerschaert on the feet. He's got way more output, and I just like the striking better. I like that he'll go to the body sometimes and he'll mix it up. And I just think on the feet, he would overwhelm GM3 over here. I do think that he would be the better striker, and he would win the minutes because he's just going to throw more. He's going to land more. He just has to keep this up on the feet. And like I mentioned earlier, Meerschaert, he's got really good jiu-jitsu, but not the world's best wrestling. So I am interested in the underdog here. In terms of a pick, I did tell you guys right before I started this breakdown that I need to tape it a little bit more. I'll pick Meerschaert for now, just because I do think he can hang and he will have a tremendous advantage on the ground if it gets there. But in terms of a bet, I've only got interest on the underdog. I do think Bryan is very, very live. He just needs to keep it on the feet. And if he can do that, he'll find a lot of success. Meerschaert, a lot of his success comes from being able to gas people out, right? In the Muradov fight, in the Bruno Silva fight, he was able to tire them out, make them super uncomfortable. But Bryan Barberena is not really going to tire out. He doesn't really gas. He's got great cardio. And I don't really think that GM3 is going to do anything that's going to make him super uncomfortable because he's seen these things before. He's fought grapplers before. And I just think that he's a very live dog and he's got a good chance to win this fight. So I do have interest on the underdog. I'm waiting to see what happens with the line, and I am waiting to do a little bit more tape and dig more into this one. But I think the dog here is live, and I would caution against parlaying Meerschaert. If you really want to bet Meerschaert, his submission props are probably decent, but the odds are like plus 130, 140 I saw. And maybe the round props, right? Like the round 3 sub, his special. That could be something interesting. I think I saw like plus 1,300. But we're going to have to wait and see because I think there's a really clear path here for Barberena if he can just keep it on the feet. And I do think he can. I think his takedown defense is decent enough to be able to keep it on the feet against someone like GM3. So we'll see. Pick's going to be GM3, but the bet might be something different because I don't just bet on my picks. There's a very big difference there. This is a numbers game for most of us, and it's definitely a numbers game for me. Let me catch up real quick. Dixon saying I'm going to take a chance on Barberena, double chance TKO decision. That could be an interesting look. Yeah, I doubt that it's going to be much different from the money line because who does Bryan Barberena submit? But if it is a significant difference, that's something that I would probably bet. Bam Bam KO, maybe. GM3 is pretty durable unless you're like Joe Pyfer or something. He's pretty damn durable. He's fought guys like Bruno Silva and Makhmud Muradov who both hit real hard, and they didn't knock him out. So I can see him being the one to get to. I mean, sorry, I got confused there real quick, but I can see him surviving. I don't know if Barberena is going to knock him out personally. But we can move on. Next up, we've got Pannie Kianzad versus Macy Chiasson. I don't know if that's how you say it right. Kianzad, she's 16-7-0. She's 32 years old, 5'7" with a 66-inch reach. On the other side, Macy, she's 8-3-0. She's 32 as well. She's going to be 4 inches taller at 5'11", and she's going to have a 6-inch reach advantage. This is a rematch. They fought. It was their first fight in the UFC for both of them, I believe. And Macy was able to submit her in the second round. And I do think that Macy's going to win again. I think that the line may be a little bit wide because on the feet, I kind of like Kianzad. I think she's a little bit of a cleaner striker, a little bit more down the pipe. I really like when fighters aren't throwing loopy stuff. I really prefer when my fighters are throwing down the pipe clean. And that's what Pannie's doing. She's much cleaner on the feet in terms of that. But I do think she's got some problems with the grappling. She's not too hard to take down. And when she's on the ground, her get-ups aren't very good. And Macy, she's super physical. She might not be like a D1 grappler where her technique is impeccable, but her takedowns are pretty solid, and her being super physical and strong helps her a lot. I can see a lot of cage pushing that happens in a lot of Pannie's fights, and I can see Macy winning those exchanges, bringing her down to the ground, controlling her. Macy gave me a real sweat against Irene Aldana because that was a max bet for me at the time on Aldana, and she was probably losing that fight until Aldana got that really clean liver kick. Macy was probably winning up until that point. So I could see Macy coming out here and out grappling her for the decision win. Maybe a sub again. I don't think so. I think it's going to be a decision this time. And on the feet, Macy's not going to be like a fish out of water, right? I think Kianzad is cleaner. Like I mentioned, 1-2's down the pipe. Everything is straight. But Macy's a decent striker too. She's going to have a little bit more power to her. We've seen her get knockdowns. Don't really see that from Pannie Kianzad. So, yeah, the pick's going to be Macy, and we can move right along. This fight's awesome. Let me see real quick. All right, nothing to catch up with in the chat. So up next, we've got Christian Rodriguez versus Isaac Dulgarian. C-Rod, he's going to be 10-1-0. He's 26 years old, 5'7" with a 71-inch reach. Dulgarian, 6-0 undefeated. He's going to be 1 year older, same height, same reach. So I totally get why people love Dulgarian so much. I mean, the dude is just a menace. He's an absolute beast. Everybody he's fought so far, he's run through them. Even Francis Marshall, who is a big step up from his previous competition, just completely ran through him. And he's never been out of the first round because he's just that good. He keeps taking these guys down. And once he gets on top of you, he's really good at transitioning on the ground. He's really solid at taking people's backs. And his ground and pound is vicious. It's nasty. He's got really nice elbows down there. So I definitely get it. But here's the thing. I don't know how you can possibly be comfortable playing Dulgarian at -185, at -175. How can you be that confident when, A, you've never seen him leave the first round, B, we have no idea what his striking really looks like. Like, there's not a lot of footage of him just on the feet exchanging with people. We don't have it. We can see he has some power, but other than that, we don't know because he's usually just going for the takedown immediately. And from what I've seen, the few seconds that he is on the feet doesn't seem that great. Seems relatively hittable. So while he has the power and he's got the grappling, you don't know if his striking can compete with guys, with a guy like C-Rod. You don't know that. So I don't know how you can play chalk with so many question marks. And again, what's the cardio going to look like if he faces adversity once we leave the first round? What's it going to look like? Because I don't think C-Rod's going to be as easy as Francis Marshall to get down. And I don't think he's going to be as easy to hold down. He's got really good scrambling. He's got really good grappling of his own. And I think he's the cleaner guy on the feet. I know for sure that he has cardio. So for me, this is a pretty easy C-Rod spot because I'm not saying he'll easily win, but he's the underdog. He's a significant underdog. He's like +160. And he's probably the best guy that Dulgarian has faced so far. Definitely the best grappler that Dulgarian has faced so far. I don't think that Dulgarian is just going to be able to sit on him and let it rip like he has in the past because I think C-Rod is hard to hold down, and I think his scrambling is really solid. He even had a really solid performance against JSP, a fight he lost, but he took that fight on short notice, and he was still able to hang. He put JSP in a few bad positions. So I'm going to go with C-Rod here for the pick. I think all the value is on him. I can see Dulgarian maybe coming out and beating up on him on top, but I just don't think that he's going to have that same advantage over C-Rod that he has had in the past. And I can't possibly lay chalk on a guy with so many question marks. Because again, what's the cardio going to look like after round one? If he's grappling so much and he's not able to hold him down well, is he going to be able to keep it up for another 2 rounds? Because he's never had to before. And doing it in practice and training is one thing, but once you're in the octagon, in the cage, it's completely different. So will he be able to keep it up? I have no way to know for sure. With C-Rod, I know for sure. And with C-Rod, I know what his striking looks like. Is he some top-notch striker? No, but he's a good striker for sure. And Dulgarian, I haven't seen much on the feet. He seems okay, but it seems like he's the type of guy to be throwing a lot of hooks, a lot of wild strikes. So I think that C-Rod's going to be cleaner. So for me, it's a really easy underdog shot to take. I think that C-Rod is the spot here, and I like him quite a bit. And A.R. Smith over here, the prospect killer, absolutely. Cameron Simon, Raul Rosas, he was able to beat both of them. I do think Dulgarian is maybe a bit scarier than those two. He's got more finishing upside to him than those two, and he's deadlier on the ground than those two guys. But again, I think that C-Rod will be able to keep it up on the feet. I think he'll be able to scramble, maybe even get his own top time. Because again, here's another question. What's Dulgarian's takedown defense look like? That we have no idea. Never been really tested at all. So he might not have good takedown defense. We don't know. Another question mark and a reason you shouldn't be laying chalk on him. So if you don't agree with me, fine. But I would really reconsider throwing Dulgarian in parlays or laying heavy units on him because there's just too many question marks. So for me, the pick is C-Rod, and we can move right along. Next up, we've got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Ovin St. Preux, OSP. Nzechukwu, 12-4-0, going to be 31 years old. He is 6'5" with an 83-inch reach. OSP, 26-17-0. He's 40, so he's 9 years older. He's going to be 2 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. Real quick, I want to see what Dixon said here. Everyone betting C-Rod based on past performances, not on his matchup now versus Dulgarian. Isaac smashes all the dudes C-Rod couldn't finish, in my honest opinion. I mean, dude, that's that whole essence of tape. That's like the entire idea of breaking down fights. You have to focus on past performances. Like, if you're not, then what are you basing it off of? Wiki capping? So, I mean, you have to consider the past because that's what we're working with. That's where that's the tape. That's what we're studying. So I don't know about all that. I get it. Isaac is way more dangerous than those other guys, but I think there's very good reason to like C-Rod here without just past performances, I guess. I mean, like I mentioned, tested in true cardio, solid striking that we don't know about Dulgarian, good scrambling, good counter grappling, decent wrestling of his own. Those are all things we can know because we can see it on the tape on his past performances. But okay, let's go back to this fight over here. So Kennedy OSP, not going to spend much time on this. Kennedy's minus 500. Does that price feel disgusting on Kennedy, who can make mistakes and act stupid sometimes? Yes. Do I think it's wide? Honestly, no, I don't. Because how does OSP win? Kennedy makes some stupid mistake. OSP gets him on the ground, and he's able to lock in some kind of submission on the ground, Von Flue choke, or an arm triangle maybe. I can see that at a really low clip, but I think the most likely outcome is Kennedy comes out and starches the guy. I've actually always liked Kennedy. Aside from the brief lapses of his fight IQ, I think he's a very solid fighter, and he's rounded his game really well. We've seen him offensively grapple now. We've seen him strike. We know what his striking looks like. He's nasty. He's got a lot of power, a lot of knees and elbows, which I really like. And OSP has not been great on the feet. He's very, very slow now. He's very, very hittable. It's not like he's going to be moving a lot and making it hard for Kennedy to find him. And it's not like his wrestling is that great either. And Kennedy, he's got decent takedown defense. And I know from experience, because the only martial arts experience I have is wrestling. And me personally, I'm not a tall guy at all. I hated wrestling tall dudes. I hated it so much because when you go for the takedowns, they'll just tripod. They'll use their limbs and they can just tripod up and make it really difficult to get them down. Then you got to like switch to the single and try to come out the other way. And is OSP going to do that at 40 years old in this stage of his career? No, I don't think so. So we can stop wasting time. I think Kennedy knocks him out probably in the first round. Is the line disgusting? Yes. Does it make sense? Also, yes. I don't think it's necessarily wide. Moving on. All right, so we're at the next fight. This is our co-main event of the evening. We got Bryan Battle versus Ange Loosa. Bryan Battle, he's 10-2-0. He's 29 years old. He's 6'1" at the 77-inch reach. Lusa on the other side, he's 10-3-0. He's going to be 29 as well, 3 inches shorter. Yes, 3 inches shorter, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So honestly, I like the underdog here. I like Lusa here. He's at a good camp, first of all. Sanford MMA, Killcliff. I love that camp. I think it's a fantastic camp, and it's a place where you can have a lot of good training partners. There's a lot of good dudes there. Gilbert Burns, for one. There's a ton of guys there. Bryan Battle is training at Carolina Combat Sports and Fitness. He's not really training with any high-level training partners, and I do think that's relevant when we have younger fighters who we do expect to keep improving. And for me, like, all right, Battle is he's a good striker. He's very deadly, very dangerous, nice kicks. He's very dynamic. He's got a bunch of tools on the feet. He keeps the punches straight down the pipe, mixes it up well. He'll use the hands, and he'll throw up a kick you don't see coming. His submission grappling is pretty good. He's a good scrambler. His own offensive wrestling is okay. Nothing spectacular, but it's there. He's a good fighter. He's a very solid fighter. Maybe the rightful favorite. But personally, I would have had this lined as a pick 'em because for me, I think Luce is the much better offensive wrestler. I think he's going to be the one getting the takedowns. And we have seen Battle struggle with that. His takedown defense isn't elite by any means. And usually when he's able to take over, when he's able to submit these guys, it's because they're gassing. And I don't really think Luce is going to gas. We've seen him slow down for sure in the Riss-McKee fight, right? Slowed down big time and almost got finished in the third round. Huge possibility for sure. I can see Battle taking advantage. But that was also a very crazy fight, back and forth with a ton of strikes thrown, a lot of takedowns. And, most guys would get tired there. Most would. But in this matchup, Battle's not throwing a ton of volume. His volume's not that great. His striking's solid, like I said, but I don't think his volume's there. I don't think he's going to throw as much as Riss-McKee did. And he just doesn't have the same style as Riss. Riss-McKee was maintaining the range and using a lot of strikes, a lot of punches straight down the pipe. Battle likes to circle a lot and use the kicks a lot. I just think it's a little bit different. I think Luce is going to be able to take advantage. I think he's going to be able to get the takedowns, maybe even catch some kicks and bring him down to the ground. And on the feet, he's not a fish out of water either. He's going to be at a reach disadvantage. So at range, Battle will have, more success probably. But once Luce closes that range, I like his boxing a lot. I think he's a clean boxer. He's not like a sloppy striker at all. He's good. He's a good boxer. And I think he's got the offensive wrestling edge here. So for me, I have to go with the underdog. I think Luce is going to win this fight. I think he's going to be able to ground Battle. And I think he's going to be able to win a decision. I don't necessarily think he finishes him. I see a lot of people liking the under. For me, if you're going to take the under, you might as well just bet Battle, because I don't really see Luce finishing Bryan here. I think if he wins, it's going to be a decision, and I think that's what's going to happen. But yeah, I like Luce here. I understand why people might stay away. I understand why people might like Battle. But for me, I think there's a lot of value on the underdog. I would have lined this about pick'em. And as long as Luce can stay safe, block those head kicks when they come, don't gas in the third round, I think he's going to be fine. I don't think Battle can take advantage of him like he has in the past. So, and I think that offensive wrestling will really pay off for Luce. So it's Ange Luce for me, going with the underdog, and we can move on to our main event. Let me see real quick what we got going on here. Let's see. Dixon saying, I kind of want to bet this fight ends in split. I can see that. I can see that. Judges disagreeing on damage versus control. Can definitely see that. Luce split. Luce will win. Okay, no. And we're gonna gonna put you in timeout. And if you make a comment like that, we're gonna have to ban you, because no, not here. Lingering feeling, Battle could land a head kick that Luce eats, but could get finished with follow-up shots because he's super tough. Yeah. I mean, I can see it, but I think the value here with Luce is with Luce. I don't see Battle knocking him out at a high clip, and I don't really see Battle submitting him at a high clip either. So I think Luce is going to take this fight. Moving on, we've got our main event of the evening. We've got Tai Tuivasa versus Marcin Tybura. Tuivasa 15-6-0. He's 31 years old. He's 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. Tybura 24-8-0. He's 38, so he's 7 years older, 1 inch taller, and he's going to have a 3-inch reach disadvantage. So for me, This is a really tough one, honestly. For me, this is tough. I've backed Tybura a lot. He's very often the underdog, and he's a good underdog. He's a good guy to back as the underdog. I did not do it with Aspinall. I was very heavy on Aspinall, but that was very different. Aspinall has good footwork, and he's very fast, and he's also a really good grappler. So I didn't think Tybura could wrestle him or anything like that. Tai Tuivasa, it's a little bit different. First off, Tai can gas. Tai gets tired. We've seen it time and time again. The Derek Lewis fight, for one, he got really tired when he got that finish. I mean, you can see him huffing and puffing. In the Volkov fight, I mean, he was getting the shit kicked out of him in that fight, so that's fair. And Volkov was going to the body a lot. But I do think that Tai slows down. I think Tybura's got better cardio, and this is a 5-round fight. I do think it probably ends early, but if it doesn't, Tybura is probably going to have the better cardio. And he's also a better wrestler. He's got the wrestling. He's a solid wrestler. He's not doing it too often. He's not coming out here and just spam shooting, but he is going for those takedowns when he needs to, and he's able to get them. He's got pretty solid wrestling, and Ty's takedown defense isn't great. I mean, Derek Lewis took him down twice, one of them with like an inside trip, and Tybura can trip him all day long. I can see him getting him down. And if you put Ty on his back, Ty has a really hard time getting back up. We've seen him struggle with Sergey Spivak, a guy that Tybura out-grappled. Not to do MMA math, but it makes a little sense here if we're talking about the grappling, the wrestling. And that's just a really big concern for me. On the feet, Tybura's a decent striker too. He's a decent boxer, but I don't think he should stay there long because he's a little bit slow, and Ty's going to have a big power advantage. If anyone's going to get the knockout, I think it's Ty. We've seen Tybura get knocked out in the who knocked him out? It was now I'm blanking. Shamil Abdurakhimov knocked him out, and Augusto Sakai knocked him out. Not the best look. Those were a while ago, but he was younger then. Now he's even older. He hasn't really been fighting guys with tremendous power recently. He fought Aspinall, who's got good power, and he got knocked out. Fought Blagoy Ivanov, who doesn't have a lot of power. Alexander Romanov, primarily a grappler who has abysmal striking. Volkov, really solid striker, really good power. Didn't knock out Tybura, though, but Volkov also looked kind of crappy there. And then Walt Harris. Walt Harris is a power puncher, but he doesn't have much else to offer. And once he got him on the ground, it's clipped. So for me, this is really tough. I don't have much confidence on either side. It's either Ty early or Tybura late. My gut is telling me Ty puts him out in the first or second round. He's able to catch him because Tybura is very slow recently. He's got much slower, very plotty, and I think it won't be hard for Ty to find the chin. But at the same time, if Tybura can stay safe, box with him a little bit, clinch him up against the fence, make him real tired, then drag him down, I think he's super live too. Tybura's got a decent submission game. Almost cashed me that round 3 submission against Blagoy Ivanov. It was like plus 4,500 or something. And when he took his back in the 3rd round, I was like, please get this sub. Please get this sub. He didn't end up getting it, but he does have a good ground game, and his ground and pound is very solid too. So if he does get tied down, and if Ty is tired, let's say we're in the 3rd round, I don't really see Ty getting back up, and I can see Tybura finishing him down there. So really tough fight for me. Normally, I'd be going with the grappler here, because if I've got a close line and I can get the grappler at underdog price or close, and I think they're going to have a lot of wrestling success, I'm going to go that way. But here I have to consider other things, right? I have to consider that he's slow. I have to consider that Ty hits real hard. And, Ty's takedown defense might have improved a little bit. I have no data to support that whatsoever, so I can't just assume that. That's why I'm not running to the window to go bet Ty and bet him heavy. But I think I'm going to pick him because I do think he most likely knocks out Tybura, but I can't blame anyone taking the dog shot because if we leave the 2nd round, Tybura is very live. This might be a live betting opportunity. I was able to take advantage last week of live betting. Got Dustin Poirier at plus 300 right before he got that damn knockout. That was cool. So I think this might be another live betting spot. You're better off, see how round 1 goes. If Tybura gets takedowns instantly, you're not going to get that live betting spot, unfortunately. So there's that risk. I don't think he will get them early, though. And if he can survive the barrages of Tai Tuivasa in the 1st and 2nd round, he's probably going to be a significant underdog, and you can probably get a good price on him and take that shot. So that's one way to look at it. I'll pick Ty, but this is a really, really volatile fight because if he can't defend the takedowns, I think he's screwed. And if Tybura can't get the takedowns, I think he's screwed. So yeah, that's the main event. Gonna pick Ty. No bet there. And I don't know if I'm gonna get to a bet. Let's see what we got in the chat real quick. It's got to be Tuivasa TKO 1-2-3 combo. Yeah, but I doubt they're going to give you a good price on that. It's going to be like plus, I don't know, probably like plus 175 or something. Feels like Derek Lewis versus Rogerio de Lima. Well, first of all, Rogerio ran right into, he got caught with that knee really quick. You don't really know how that fight plays out over a long period of time. And I don't know if Ty's going to come out here and just flatline Tybura off a takedown attempt. But I get the comparison. Everyone's making a big deal of the knee injury they saw in the video. I get it. I definitely get it. Glenbot, thank you, brother. Thank you for tuning in. I always appreciate you. And AJ is saying Tybura. I get it. I think there's value there on the underdog. I just personally can't get there because I can see him get knocked out as well. So, all right, guys, that's it. That's UFC Vegas 88. That's 13 fights. Should be a pretty decent card. It's not the most beautiful card on paper, but I actually think there's some really fun matchups here. Like the Dogarian fight should be really fun. The Lusa battle fight should be a great time. Chandler Nunes for all the memes. That should be fun. So it's a card to look forward to. My slate is definitely smaller than usual. I've already got most of my bets done. I doubt I'm going to add too much more, depending on the line movement. You know, if my hand is forced in certain fights, it'll happen. But I'm probably not going to be adding too much. For my full slate, you can find that at the Beer Money Picks Discord. Awesome group of guys. I recently joined them. It's a Discord with not just an MMA capper. I'm the MMA capper, but there's guys that do basketball, college ball, NBA, football, baseball, hockey. I think we got a guy slamming darts, literally everything. And they're nice with it. They're really nice with it. I don't understand those sports at all, and they kill it. We got guys just banging out parlays every day, straight picks every day. Great guys. Make sure to check that Discord out. You can find the link in my link tree. It's in my YouTube description and it's in my Twitter description. Couch Warrior Pod on Twitter, Couch Warrior Podcast on YouTube. That's where you can find all that. If you're going to sign up, slide in my DMs. I'll give you a code. We'll get you 25% off and you can come check us out. That's where all my bets are going to be. I'll give out like a free lotto towards the end of the week, but my official plays are at the Beer Money Picks Discord. And yeah, in terms of other stuff happening this week, tomorrow I'm going to be interviewing Garrett Armfield. Should be a good time. That won't be live, but I'll upload it probably tomorrow night. If you guys have any questions for him, hit me up. I'm more than happy to ask him if it's not something absurd. And then on Thursday, I'll be talking to Jared Gooden, also a really dope guy. He's made me a ton of money. So I'm looking forward to talking to him. And again, if you got any questions you want to ask him, send those my way. And if they're not ridiculous, I will ask him and see what he says. And then in terms of my YouTube shorts, if you prefer short videos, you don't like all this rambling, you just want to know who wins, who I think will win, I post my YouTube shorts every single week. It's probably going to happen tomorrow. It's just a 1-minute video for each and every fight. I do all the fights every week. We've done hundreds of these at this point. And I talk fast, so it works. I'm able to get a lot in 1 minute, and I think people like them, so you can check those out. And that's it, guys. Thank you all for tuning in. Peace out, and have a good one.